Hello and welcome to Roadmap 2015. I'm Gbenga Ashiru. Today we begin by taking a close look at the preparation of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, towards the 2015 elections. We would also be taking a look on the many unanswered questions about the complaints trailing the distribution of the permanent voter cards due to allegations of irregularities about the primaries. There are reports going round about parties anointing a candidate at the party headquarters in Abuja while primaries were being conducted in the respective home states. Let's refresh you with this report on the update and the build-up towards 2015 elections and the chances of elections holding in the northeast of the country.
With just about 3 months to the general elections, the concern about how to conduct a peaceful election has dominated several forums organized by the Independent National Electoral Commission in recent times. At this event, youth became the center of interest as guests speak of a need to ensure peaceful elections next year in the face of current security challenges and a history of post-election violence in Nigeria.
The challenge of eliminating electoral violence ultimately lies with you and I.
But beyond the apprehensions ahead of the 2015 elections, experts at this forum also made recommendations on how to attain peaceful polls.
If we allowed ourselves to be animalistic, just like what has happened during the 2011 election, it will open a door for the insurgents to take over the country. Because now that the insurgents are killing people without target. So if we, the politician, mess up by now allowing ourselves to be so rough, to leave our supporters to behave in animalistic manner, anything will happen.
The 2011 general elections was trailed by post-elections violence. Nigerians are hoping that the lessons learned from these experiences and the recommendations from this forum would make next year's elections better.
The federal government recently affirms that elections would hold in the states under emergency rule. However, with the cycle of violence and bloodshed unabating, many observers have raised anxiety about the chances of elections holding in the northeast. The controversy surrounding the PVC distribution has also been brought to the fore. Channels TV takes this question to the horse's mouth, bringing the national chairman of the Independent Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Ateriu Jega, on the hot seat. Professor Jega says INEC had an initial issue with procurement of the materials, but he assures that all issues pertaining to the permanent voter cards will be taken care of before January 31st, 2015. Professor Jega also affirms that elections will hold in the northeast. Take a listen.
There have been challenges in the distribution of the permanent voters' cards, and delays occurred because, regrettably, the contractor missed some of the deadlines for the production and supply to INEC for distribution. Unfortunately, we had already set a long time ago the dates for the distribution. So we had to keep on adjusting those days until we got the cards to be able to distribute. But I can tell you that as I speak with you now, only 2 states remain for us to distribute cards, namely Niger and Borno. And in these states, distribution is expected to start tomorrow. So, of course, there are all sorts of arguments or accusations or allegations that INEC is trying to disenfranchise either a political party or an area. These are malicious and certainly inaccurate allegations. INEC intends to produce and distribute cards to all those who have registered in 2011 and those who have done continuous voter registration. So I can assure you that we will produce the cards in readiness for distribution before February 14th general election. And there was also another misconception. People thought that the 3 days will distribute cards in the polling unit. If they don't collect it, then it means they will not collect it. And that is not so. As I speak with you, any cards that we did not distribute at the polling unit, we have taken them back to our local government offices, INEC local government offices, and between now and January 31st, they can be collected by the owners of these cards. So really, until the day of the election, when people, unless on that day, people come out and say, I have registered, INEC did not produce my card, that is the only time when people should start talking about disenfranchisement. You know, there are challenges in the distribution. We have missed our own deadlines for distribution, but that does not mean that that will affect the preparations and the conduct of the 2011 general elections. I must also apologize. The CVR exercise was a bit also challenging because we are using all the equipment. We bought a lot of equipment in 2010. We use it for 2011 registration. We cannot buy new equipment. We decided to manage what we have until after the 2015 general elections. So obviously, in many states, there had been challenges about registration. The equipment may fail, but we quickly replaced. So, and both the distribution and the CVR figures are very encouraging. As I speak with you, the nationwide distribution, except these 2 states I mentioned, Niger and Borno, where we have not distributed, and Katsina and Kaduna, where we have just finished distribution, but we haven't yet got the statistics. The total distribution of the cards, on average, is close to 65% nationwide.
Now, also looking at the issue of the distribution, we've also seen a situation where the machines take a whole lengthy hours to get at least a prospective voter to be registered. Should that be the case?
Obviously, we will expect things to work perfectly, you know, but in our own environment, there are so many challenges which make it difficult for things to work perfectly. Wherever there were those kinds of disappointments, obviously we apologize to those who have incurred inconveniences, but we urge people to be patient. You know, lack of patience sometimes is responsible for all the chaotic situations that we see being reported. Everybody is anxious to come and do and finish, you know, and INEC cannot deliberately bring about malfunction of equipment. For what purpose? What does it serve us? So if these things happen, people should understand it's beyond our control.
Now let's come to the internal democracies of the parties now. It's as if as we move on to these elections, it comes with its peculiar challenges. We've seen a situation at the primaries, especially the gubernatorial primaries, where a candidate seems to be adopted at the party headquarters in Abuja, whereas the primaries election is taking place in their states. What should be the situation? Should that be the situation? Can candidate be adopted in the party headquarters?
INEC is a law-abiding organization. Everything we do, we are bound by the laws and the legal framework for doing our job. As I speak with you, party primaries are regulated by provisions of the Electoral Act. And one significant provision of the Electoral Act, Section 31, says very categorically that whatever candidate is submitted by a political party, INEC cannot reject it for any reason whatsoever.
But it's also in the Electoral Act that the INEC has an observer role to play. So what's the essence of this observer role?
We play observer role. We have reports about what happens, but the bottom line is nomination of candidates is done by political parties. And if they bring a candidate to us, even if we observed that that candidate was not elected or did not come through the primaries, unfortunately, by existing legal framework, there is nothing we can do. But those who have been excluded or those who felt that injustice has been done to them, they can seek other remedies. But we can only do what the law says we should do. We cannot start rejecting candidates because the law says whoever the party brings, we must accept.
Now,
so Nigerians should recognize the constraints in the legal framework.
Now, the big question is, we'll need you to clear the air. It's reported that INEC made an initial statement that elections may not be feasible in the northeastern states, particularly the states under declaration of state of emergency. But just recently, we heard the federal government, two ministers precisely, the Minister of Special Duties, Kabiru Turaki, and also the Minister of Federal Capital Territory, Bala Muhammad, saying elections would be possible in the northeastern states. Could you set the record straight, Honorable Chairman?
INEC has never said that elections will not take place in the three states. We have always consistently said that we are prepared to conduct elections anywhere in this country in February 2015. So really it's a misconception. We have never, as INEC, said that elections may not take place in the three states under emergency.
We've also had allegations that some of your resident electoral commissioners are being partisan. Could you clear this issue?
Well, there has not been any formal report from anybody to INEC complaining about the conduct of any of our resident electoral commissioners along the lines that you have mentioned now. I can assure you that if we receive any report, we will investigate it thoroughly, and if anybody is found culpable, obviously we will follow the law and take the measures that are provided for in law. But as I speak with you, there has not been any formal representation that REC in so-so-so state has compromised or REC in so-so-so state has been partisan. We have not received these categoric and specific complaints. But you know Nigerians also, and you know our politicians, you know, sometimes people just make spurious allegations which cannot be proven or which have not been proven. And unfortunately the media, once somebody says something, they take it and they publicize it and popularize it, not knowing or perhaps indifferent to the fact that really it is a spurious allegation.
Now, before we wind down on this conversation, Honorable Chairman, could you just tell us how prepared is the INEC for the 2015 elections?
I would like to reassure Nigerians that INEC is adequately prepared to conduct free, fair and credible elections in 2015 and to ensure that the elections in 2015 are much, much better than the elections of 2011. We have prepared strenuously and adequately in the last 4 years in order to ensure this comes to pass. However, it is not INEC alone that can deliver free, fair and credible and peaceful elections. Every stakeholder has a role to play, and we urge all stakeholders, all Nigerians, to discharge their role so that together, collectively, we can deliver free, fair and credible elections in February 2015.